Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a new bill would hold parents more accountable for what their children do with firearms. Plus, a study by UK wants to find out why the 2022 flood hit eastern Kentucky so hard and what could have been done to prevent it from happening.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Madison Carmouche. We're coming up on that 6:30 mark this Wednesday morning. Today is October 16th. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmall for a look at your forecast. Megan, we were just talking about how it actually gets a little cooler from when we come in versus when everyone else was starting to wake up.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot colder for y'all leaving this morning than when we were. I mean, it was in the 40s when I left, and we're over here in the 30s now. But luckily, where there's no fog, when I came in, there's still no fog for you. Taking a look at the current visibility in miles, majority of the area is seeing the 10s across the board with the exception of Williamsburg, about 3-mile visibility. But the temperatures are getting cooler from when I woke up. Right now at the London Corbin Airport, we're at 38 degrees, and looking across the board, Hazard's at 37. I think when I left my house, it was like 42 degrees, something along those lines. But it's definitely a cool morning. Definitely need those jackets as you're heading out the door. High temperatures for your Wednesday will be in the mid-50s across the board. More of our eastern counties will get a little bit cooler. 46 for Norton is their expected high. Looking at Clintwood, 48, and Logan could even see 48 as their high. So definitely a cold day. Sweater weather, of course. Make sure you're wearing those today. Next 12 hours, we will be warming up slowly to those highs. We'll see some clouds roll in around that noon hour, but as we continue, it'll get to that temperature ever so slightly around 4 p.m. Sunrise this morning will be at 7:43 a.m. and I'll have the bus stop forecast in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Megan, thank you. The Fayette County Health Department is tracking a massive food recall. The USDA issued a warning this month about nearly 10 million pounds of possibly contaminated products. Ready-to-eat and frozen meals from brands like Dole, Great Value, and Good & Gather might contain Listeria bacteria. It can be deadly, especially for older people, pregnant women, and people with weakened immune systems.
It's important for people to pay attention to this because unfortunately people died from the Listeria outbreak earlier in the year. We don't want to see that happen now.
The company Bruce Pack produced the potentially contaminated meat. So far, there have been no confirmed illnesses. You can find a list of affected products on the WYMT News app. Federal officials are taking a closer look at how U.S. Agriculture Department and state inspectors handled the deadly Listeria outbreak at Boar's Head Deli Meat Plant in Virginia. The USDA has launched an internal investigation into how the agency responded to reports of serious violations at the plant in Jarrett, Virginia. At least 10 people died and nearly 50 were hospitalized after a Listeria outbreak linked to Boar's Head Deli Meats, including liverwurst.
These deaths and hospitalizations were preventable, and they should have been preventable. I want to get to the bottom of why the Boar's Head plant was permitted to continue operating in the face of repeated violations.
Senator Richard Blumenthal declined to release the USDA's response. The plant is now closed and Boar's Head no longer produces liverwurst anywhere. Kentucky lawmakers are working outside of the normal legislative session on a bill that would hold legal guardians civilly liable for damage caused by firearms in the hands of children. Republican State Representative Kim Banta says families should be cautious of what children do with firearms that belong to parents. Banta's bill would hold parents accountable for civil liability, meaning there would be monetary penalties instead of jail time.
Not telling you have to lock it up. I'm just asking people to think about it and know that if your child takes a gun and shoots the neighbor's dogs, that you're going to have to probably buy them a new dog.
Representative Tina Bojanowski, a Democrat from Louisville, is set to be the primary co-sponsor of the bill. Kentucky State Senator Johnny Turner will now be running unopposed in the race for the 29th Senate District. The Secretary of State's website says independent candidate David Sir has officially withdrawn from the race. Senator Turner says he wishes Sir and his family well in all their future endeavors. Turner continues to recover from injuries sustained last month during a lawnmower incident. Candidates for the 84th District Representative and Commonwealth's Attorney gathered with audience members in the Perry County Public Library for a candidate forum. WYMT's Neely Green was there and spoke with those in attendance.
Tuesday evening, candidates for the 84th District Representative and Commonwealth's Attorney spoke in Perry County. The candidate forum was hosted through a partnership between Envision Hazard, WSGS, and Talkback Radio.
These candidate forums are really a way to inform voters of who they're actually voting for. And we're looking forward to hopefully see increased voter turnouts because of that as well.
The event was created with the idea to give attendees insight of each candidate's platform and hear plans for key issues affecting the region.
When it's a local election, anybody of our area in East Kentucky can tell you, when you're voting for your friends and neighbors, then political parties really don't matter. We vote for our friends and neighbors based on who truly is best.
Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Jonathan Wilder and former Commonwealth's Attorney John Hanson are running for Commonwealth's Attorney. Both answered questions from audience members and live stream viewers. One question involved the candidate's specific goals if elected.
The specific goals that we would have for that office would be to run it as efficiently as we possibly could, to be as fair to as many people as we possibly can, to have a group of attorneys up there that are capable and willing and able to try cases when it comes down to having to try cases.
Convictions at trial. That's how you measure the goal of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. The efficiency, that's going to come with the staff that's there. There are folks there in the office right now who've been in there for several years. Without them, if they ever leave, that system's going to collapse.
Dixon Klein attended the forum. He says it's important for people to meet the candidates and hear their insight.
I think that we all have a stake in what happens in our Commonwealth. I think we all want what's best for our Commonwealth. And to meet the people that are supposed to represent us up in Frankfurt is very important.
The first hour of the forum was for 84th District State Representative candidates. Democrat Zach Hall was there. Incumbent Republican Chris Fugit did not attend. In Hazard, Neely Green, WYMT Mountain News.
Next Tuesday, another candidate forum will be hosted in the Perry County Public Library. Candidates for Hazard Independent Schools and Perry County School Board also will debate. A number of students, community leaders, and Governor Andy Beshear came together to voice their opposition to Amendment 2. The proposed amendment would allow state funding to be used for non-public education. Opponents say the amendment would gut funding for public schools and put more strain on schools already struggling across the state. Yesterday, the governor underscored his belief the amendment would be disastrous for public education in Kentucky.
The state budget has a certain amount, and if you take a big chunk of it out, there's nothing to replace it for our public schools. You're seeing real challenges in other states.
Those who support Amendment 2 say the amendment would give parents more say in which school their child attends. Researchers with the University of Kentucky are leading a study to better understand what made the July 2022 floods so devastating and how to be prepared for future floods. The study will look at long-term data gathered from UK's Robinson Forest. Researchers say the study hopes to result in better early warning systems to help people evacuate communities before flooding gets worse.
We will be focusing on analysis of long-term data from UK's Robinson Forest. We've got about 50 years of stream flow data and precipitation data. So we'll be working to analyze those data to better understand how precipitation and stream flow are changing over time, potentially as related to climate change.
The project funding also includes outreach to Eastern Kentucky middle and high schools to support science and education programs. This Saturday is National Move Over Day, a day to remind drivers about recent changes to the Slow Down Move Over law. This summer, the law expanded to include any disabled vehicle with its warning signals on. AAA of the Bluegrass says that nationally, approximately one driver every 6 days dies from being hit by a car on the road during work. Tow truck driver Jacob Nash says he feels strongly about not becoming that statistic.
People that don't want to move over, be ashamed of yourself. People's got lives and they've got families at home. They don't want to be called in the middle of the night saying, hey, somebody's just got run over by a car.
If moving over is impossible, drivers must reduce their speed when approaching disabled vehicles. WSGS hosted the Appalachian Arts Alliance for the 5th annual Radio Day Takeover. The Appalachian Arts Alliance used the time on the airwaves to talk about the arts, talk to those involved in the arts in the region, and share live performances from artists in the area. The main purpose was to raise money for the programs offered by the art station. Executive Director Tim Deaton says being on Main Street while people donate is a fun part of the tradition.
And some of that's because our incredible board members and committee members do a lot of groundwork before Radio Day to help drum up some of that support. But then some people just want to help and support what we have going on down there.
If you would like to donate, you can find links and ways to support the art station in this story on our website. A legendary East Tennessee and Southwest Virginia broadcaster died Monday. Johnny Wood worked for WCYB in Bristol for 44 years before retiring in 2012. He was known for his many years anchoring the morning newscast, his weekly fishing reports, and his Lunch with Johnny segments. Friends can come by Weaver Funeral Home in Bristol between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Thursday and Friday to sign a register book. Johnny Wood was 82. Another East Tennessee native that spent decades in the healthcare industry has died. Charles Housley died in Lexington Saturday. He was born in La Follette, Tennessee, and worked in various healthcare roles. In 1998, he came to Perry County to become the CEO of Hazard ARH and worked here for several years. He became close friends with former Hazard Mayor Bill Gorman and others. His visitation will be hosted at Cathedral Christ the King Catholic Church in Lexington Friday from 11 until the funeral mass at 1. Charles Housley was 85.
Looking throughout the area, we're not seeing much of fog. Thankfully, we are seeing those cold temperatures, though. Looking at the fog specifically, we're seeing Williamsburg is really getting that 3-mile visibility, but everywhere else in the area are seeing those 10-mile visibilities, so you're not going to be interacting too much with that fog today, with the exception of Williamsburg. Those current temperatures, though, are cold. We're in the 30s for the most part. There are a couple cities that are in the 40 mark, 41 for Grundy, Jacksboro, and Monticello, but we will be warming up into those highs in the next couple hours. 50s is what we're seeing, mostly the mid-50s, but if you're in Wise, we'll see those temperatures even cooler. 46 is the forecast high for your Wednesday. Looking at the bus stop forecast, it'll be nice and cool this morning. Make sure your kids are bundled up in their jackets as they're heading to the bus stop. It will be warming up slowly. We have those clouds, and by the time you head home, 54 will be the temperature. Stay with us. More mountain news is on the way.